Yes, thank you everyone for staying so late. Find myself very conflicted on council here. I mean, I hear that we've celebrated Black History Month, Juneteenth, Taylor Swift. And I'm going to say that what we're here to discuss tonight is not a celebration. I mean, the question that I have, and it's really easy to do that.
Please stop. Well,
yeah,
please.
I don't think any of the other cities that celebrated, state and federally recognized holidays had any problem with those proclamations or special orders. I don't think so at all. And the question I have to ask myself is, we have this stand united against hate, and my question is, how do you stand against hate if you don't actually do anything against hate? Right?
Please.
So, and I've heard a lot of things. I've heard stay in your lane, you don't have the power. And I hear these all the time. I hear these all the time in engineering. I hear these all the time, as an Asian, actually. And I hear these as a politician. But I mean, I don't consider myself a politician first. I consider myself a father first. Right. And I'm also the room parent for my child. And I've said this several times, but I hear this comment very often. I see these kinds of things like people fighting because somebody did not share, because they took a ball, because of other things. Like I watch the children on the playground because I want to see how my child interacts with other children. Right. And the first thing that we say when there's a problem is, all right, everyone stop fighting. And I know that people are going to be out there comparing themselves to children and saying that I'm talking about them, very poorly. And if they want to do that, they can feel free to do that. But the next thing is often, this person started it. And I'm going to be honest with you, as an adult, as the adult in the room, it doesn't really matter who started it. The statement is, we want you to stop. And again, stay in your lane, you don't have the power. These all take away our agency, right? Don't act federally, but support locally. How do you do that? How do you support the people in this room by doing nothing? Right, and that's what I'm looking at. The things that I've heard, and please, the things that I've heard.
I'm going to ask everyone to please refrain so we can get through these comments. Thank you very much.
And I'm going to say this, I take fairly good notes. If you tell me who you are, I can tell you what you told me. That's a challenge. And when I write things down, I tend to know what people say. I don't just hear them and I just don't think about them. I think, oh, I know what this person said, and I've heard this 3 times because I wrote it down 3 times. When you write it down, you tend to remember that you wrote it down. And I'm going to say, people who say, we're supporting and we're asking for a unilateral ceasefire, I've never heard that. What I heard is, stop the killing of innocent civilians. I didn't hear any calls for unilateral ceasefire. It was a request to stop the killing. All sides. To allow humanitarian aid into the area. Because I don't think people realize this. People are hurt and dying on both sides. Not allowing aid, not having hospitals, doesn't help anyone. And what I heard is free hostages, and this was explicitly in there, free hostages from both sides. I can't tell you how many times I wrote down those 3 items, right? And people say, well, that's because there is a concerted effort by people to get those out there. Well, I'm saying I find it hard to disagree with that effort if those are the 3 things people are saying. And I'm going to say freeing hostages, you're right. You didn't elect me because of my international knowledge, but I don't know how that's going to happen without a ceasefire. Right, and maybe we don't have the political will to ask for a ceasefire, but holy cow, how can we sit here as a council and not support our local community. Like, I'm going to say, I've heard from Palestinians and Jews alike these messages, right? I don't hear Palestinians telling me, stay in your lane. And people say, well, they have something to benefit from this. Well, I'm thinking we all have something to benefit from this. We had a discussion where people are saying, these are my friends and my relatives. Sorry, my friends and my neighbors. And I think that if these really are your friends and neighbors, treat them like your friends and neighbors. Like the question, it still boggles me. How does asking for stopping the killing of innocent civilians lead to unrest? Like, I don't understand that. Right? How does allowing humanitarian aid into the area, how does that prevent people from sleeping at night? You know, and I agree. I think that what the city manager did was a really good thing, which is he brought us into this larger community of Santa Clara stands united against hate. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that I could ever display this in my house, in my car, on this stand, if I don't speak to the people who've come here telling us about the issues that they're facing, right? I mean, there's two sides. And for the people that only show me one, I'm sorry. I have to take that one single-sided view a little less seriously than the people who are telling me they want to stop all the killing. And I understand that, you know, it's very difficult for us to do this because we're worried about things like elections. And we're worried about things like what people will say about us. I don't really care what people say about me, right? Because I know what my daughter says about me. She thinks I'm stupid. You know, but I think at some point, I'm going to have to look back, maybe in 5 years, and point her to the video and show her that I wasn't. Right? Again, I understand the United Against Hate. I understand the amendment to remove anti-Palestinian. And I kind of agree with the person who said, and I can quote if you give me time to find it, but he said, take it out because I don't want to add anti-Israeli. Because if I'm against genocide, I'm anti-Israeli. If I want a ceasefire, I'm anti-Israeli. And I think that's a very slippery slope. It's more slippery, like you can be included in anything just by sitting up on the dais, for example. Just by being in a city where you were against a football team in a stadium coming in, but they happen to come in anyway, and now our budgets are tied to having a football team in your stadium. You're going to be linked to lots of different things because of association. And I'm going to say, if I'm going to be associated with something, I'm going to say it very loudly. I'm going to make it. You're going to have no mistake on what I feel. Right. And for people who know me, I've always been that way. I would like to add, but I'm not so sure that it works for a generic United Against Hate proclamation. I hear about Black Lives Matter, and I said Black Lives Matter was very appropriate because Black lives, those were the people under attack during that time. For us to say that all lives matter and not to acknowledge who was under attack at that time doesn't make any sense to me. I give this example all the time. It's as if you fell down and I said, oh my goodness, is everyone all right? Right? It doesn't make sense to me. If we're going to talk about what's going on and we're not going to say where or when, if it can be anything, then what statement are we really making? right? If this is a statement that's going to last for any issue, it's going to be appropriate for anything that happens, what's the point of coming together at this time, with this community? What's the point of coming together doing this? I mean, I see these amendments, and I'm going to read the amendments that were suggested by the community, which is, whereas all human life is precious. Somebody disagree with that. And the targeting of civilians, no matter their faith or ethnicity, should be denounced. Somebody disagree with that. Now, here's one that is going to cause a little bit of trouble because it uses words that people don't like. But I'm going to say, unfortunately, the world is full of really bad things. And if we aren't going to use the words that we're uncomfortable with so that we can denounce them, what are we going to use the words for? Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Santa Clara takes seriously the entreaty of never again, and that the historical memory of the Holocaust means fighting ethnic cleansing and genocide everywhere for everyone. This doesn't even talk about Gaza. It's kind of, I almost don't think this goes far enough, but I'm willing to accept it. And be it further resolved, the City of Santa Clara condemns anti-Semitic and Islamophobic hate crimes in our schools, places of worship, and our community, with the goal of making the City of Santa Clara a safe space for all. And the problem that I have with this is Santa Clarans aren't the people getting bombed, right? But I'm going to say, I would like to request that we add, and I think everyone has a copy, these amendments. And if there are people who still want to speak against these amendments, I suggest we give them time to come up and tell us why they don't like these. I'm perfectly willing. I can do this all day. So I'd like to request that we add these in. I understand, and I won't take offense if the answer is no. But, for item 5, I will, let's see if we can get this as part of the United Against Hate Amendment first. And then we'll see how we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jane.